Let's move on to the Broncos, man. So obviously, it should be an easy win for the Chiefs. Obviously, the superior team here. The Broncos have been struggling, on a historical level.
Dumpster
Russell
fire.
Wilson, yes, dumpster fire is the best way to put it. So, what's your thoughts on the Broncos game? Do you think it's something that we go into and just take out all the frustration of the Bengals game on the Broncos and just beat the crap out of them, or do you think it's going to be that tight? In conference matchup like usual. Like even when Drew Lock was there, they played us really close. Do you think it's going to be another one of those games?
When I first heard the Russell Wilson news about him going to Denver, I don't want to sit here and say that I knew it was going to be this bad because I didn't. But I was one of those people that said, man, I really think the Broncos messed this one up. They gave up so much for a guy that was going to be 34 years old in November, has been sacked almost 500 times in his career, coming off a throwing hand injury. And the worst part about it was the Broncos didn't have to pay him. They still had 2 years of control left on his contract from the Seahawks. So they could have let him play this out. And if he sucked, he'd be a 35-year-old quarterback and just get rid of him and just got what they wanted out of him. So they totally screwed themselves from the beginning. And this is the beautiful fruits that are blooming from it. I'll say this about this game because I've made the mistake far too often where I think the Chiefs are just going to blow teams out and then they don't even cover the spread when it's like a 7.5 and they should cover it. I do understand that, but here's the thing, man: is there's two problems with the Broncos. One, their offense is by far the worst in the league, and it's not really all that close. I think since the bye week, they're averaging like right over 10 points a game. They're a terrible offense. Russell Wilson has 8 touchdowns in 10 games. He has 4 more bathrooms in his house than he has touchdown passes. That's how wild this thing's getting right now for Russell. So and Cortland Sutton's not supposed to play in this game, and they have 0 run game whatsoever. So from that perspective, even as inept as the Chiefs defense has been at getting to the quarterback for a lot of the season against good offenses, I think this is a get-right game for the Chiefs defense because of the fact that the Broncos just are so limited on offense, and that was when they were healthy. That was back when they had Javonte Williams in the backfield. That's when they had Cortland Sutton healthy. And I just don't see. Somebody would have to paint me a scenario in which I think this Chiefs or this Broncos offense could do enough against any defense because I think they lost 19-16 to the Texans a few weeks ago. I mean, that's how do you not score 30 against the Texans? That's wild to me how that works out. And then you look on the offensive side, man. If you thought the Broncos season's been bad so far, imagine having to face the Chiefs 2 times in 4 weeks after they conceded the 1 seed. Like the Chiefs are going to come in this game and be very pissed off, and it's not going to be necessarily pissed off at the Broncos. They didn't do anything; they're just going to be catching the strays. The Chiefs are pissed at themselves because they lost the biggest game of the season so far. So this is the perfect time for the Chiefs to catch the Broncos. And furthermore, if we're looking at it from an honest perspective, I love the fact the Chiefs are going to Mile High because the Chiefs have been a far better offensive team on the road this season. They're averaging over 30 points a game on the road this year. So and all 3 of their 40-point games have been on the road this year. So if they're going to put up points, if this is going to be a blowout between these 2 teams over the next 4 weeks, it's going to be in this one. So I am expecting a very pissed off, motivated, driven Chiefs team as a whole. And I am expecting them to go out there and have one of their best games over the last couple of weeks.
Okay, so playing off that, we kind of said the Bengals game. We felt that the Chiefs did not show up with the intensity that the Bengals did. The Bengals looked like they were playing a playoff game, and the Chiefs, from our perspective, just looked flat. We looked like we didn't care. It just kind of honestly looked like the way we always look in the second half of the Bengals games. Like we just didn't show up. You should see our comment section, man. We lost subscribers. We lost everything because people said we are bandwagon fans and not real Chiefs fans because we will call that out. I say you get what you get. So my point is that concerned me a little bit with this Chief team. I said, are we mentally tough enough and where we need to be going into a playoff environment? And everybody said, that was a good game. That was a good team. Don't panic. So going into this Broncos game, we all know we're 21 points better than this team. And the Chiefs should come out and light it on fire. They should burn Mile High down. But if they do not, and they come out and play flat, uninspired football again and squeak by, even if it's just 3 or 7, when is it that we start to panic a little bit? Do we hit the panic switch or do we say, well, it's a long season, we'll get it right? Or do we say, hey, man, something's wrong here?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate you guys for being honest Chiefs fans and people that create content because I know it's not easy sometimes to get that backlash from fans out there. Trust me, I understand fully. Let me just put it like that. I do understand. But I commend you guys for standing your ground because it's all about being honest and having integrity out there. So I do want to throw that out there. When it comes to when I'm going to start getting worried, the only way I'm going to ever get worried is if I see the Chiefs down the final stretch of the season look like they're not going to be good enough to beat bad teams. So if in this game, I understand the style of the win is going to be important to us because of that frustrating loss. So the Chiefs are to win this game, 21-16, 21-17. We're like, damn, that game was too close. And we just lost to the Bengals. What in the living hell is going on? But see, this is the thing we got to remember, man, is that we saw this multiple times over the last 3 or 4 years, where the Chiefs lost to both the Texans and the Titans in 2019 during the regular season, and then beat the Texans and the Titans in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. We saw this just this last year where the Chiefs struggled many, many times against teams they shouldn't have struggled against, in particular, the Broncos. Drew Lock was on like the 6-7 yard line, and then Melvin Ingram forced the fumble that Nick Bolton ran back, and the Chiefs just squeaked out the victory. So we look at these and we're like, damn, man, these are frustrating losses or frustrating wins. They're not satisfying. They're stressful. We know this more than any fan base out there because we know that every single game, no matter who is on the schedule, the Chiefs are going to be the Super Bowl for most of these teams because more teams than not don't have a realistic shot at getting to the Super Bowl. So some of these teams are playing spoiler, especially as the season goes on. And a lot of these teams want to give their A game on primetime games and show out and try to beat the big bad Chiefs. You have to remember also is that if you look at the Chiefs over the last 11 playoff games in the Mahomes era, when was the last time you saw the Chiefs just not play a highly competitive, high-energy game? You can look at the first half against the Patriots. That was still when the Patriots were the Patriots. There was horrific calls in that game, and that was Patrick Mahomes' first AFC championship. And you saw what they did in the second half. They lit it on fire against a great elite defense that was shutting down Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And then you look at the Super Bowl, and Super Bowl, I think it was, 55? 55-56, when the Chiefs had a depleted offensive line going against the number one rush defense. They just didn't have a chance. I think they gave it their all. Patrick Mahomes gave it their all. But outside of those things, guys, the Chiefs are a different team when it comes to the playoffs. So until I see the Chiefs go out there and struggle an entire game against an opponent in the playoffs and lose in that fashion, I'm not going to sit here and worry about it because as much as critical as I am, and trust me, guys, I am too. There's a lot of things I don't like about this team. I don't like the fact that they can't get an organic pass rush with their 4 guys. I don't like the fact they go away from the run game because I'm with you guys. I grew up in the Marty Ball era. I like to see the teams ground and pound because it adds balance to an offense. Despite that, no matter what match of the Chiefs go up against in the AFC playoff picture, they will always have the advantage at head coach and quarterback. And until that's proven wrong, I'm always going to give the Chiefs an advantage in the upper hand.
Really quick, we also took criticism because we felt that Andy and this team routinely plays down to their opponents. And then when we compare and we said, look, we're over the whole we used to be a bad team and a bad franchise. Let's take this, let's cherish this. I understand it, but that's not a reason to not want to accept greatness, excellence, and have a championship mentality. So we will compare them sometimes and be like, look, if we want a dynasty, Tom Brady and Belichick is the last and only dynasty possibly to ever exist in this style of football. They come out and they stomped teams. They were everybody's Super Bowl too. And there was very few games I can remember where they come down and had a crappy performance. One of them was in the Super Bowl versus the Falcons, and they come back and won the game, I believe. So why is it that Chiefs fans won't accept the championship mentality? And why is it that it seems like Andy Reid teams in general always play down to opponents and never seem to have that fire about them? Like, is it just because of Andy's demeanor as a person? Like, hey, it's just a game, winning and losing, it happens. They got good players too. Or what do you think it is?
Well, both things pissed me off for the record as a Chiefs fan because I remember during the Alex Smith era, and I don't really know what your guys' stance on with Alex Smith or in that era. I hated that era very much because the Chiefs would be a 10-win team on an annual basis, and then we knew how the story would end. We knew that it was always going to come down to Alex Smith can't make plays. Chiefs are going to lose a very frustrating playoff game. And that is literally what happened, unless you want to count the year where he didn't throw a damn touchdown to a wide receiver and they didn't make the playoffs altogether. But no, when you look at – yes, you're right, man. I think Chiefs fans are still very much in that phase of it was so bad for so long. We just love that the Chiefs don't suck. And that was always the MO with the Chiefs from the top down, is they were always more afraid of not being good than never being great. That was always the problem that I always had, is that as long as you're good and the fans are showing up, that's right. Because if you notice, the only time the Chiefs ever made real changes is when Save Our Chiefs came around and they started flying the banners and people stopped going to the games. They were talking about blacking out Arrowhead games. Like, who would have thought that would ever happen? Fired Pioli, got rid of that whole regime, went out and desperately went and got Andy Reid, and then everything changed. But to the Andy Reid aspect of this, when it comes to how he does this, man, I feel like I'm talking to myself right now, not just because you and I look like we could be brothers, but it's because of the fact that we share a very similar mindset in this. Is I want to see my team kick the living crap out of teams. I want to see 49-7. I want to see that. I'm greedy as hell. I want to feel great. By the third quarter, I want to be looking at my phone. I want to be chilling. I want to be sitting back having a stogie when I shouldn't be celebrating a victory against a 3-win team. But you know what? That's how it should be. And Andy Reid is somebody that I respect so much as a person and as a coach. I think this dude is the best coach in football today. I think he's the best head coach in football. And he's one playoff win away from tying Tom Landry for second all time. And Andy Reid's not done for another 3 to 5 years probably. So he's probably going to be second very comfortably all time in playoff wins. But he has this problem where he's more afraid of offending the other coach on the other side than putting his foot down and saying, we're going to beat the crap out of this team, and I don't care who it offends. Because that was that's still Bill Belichick's way. If Mac Jones was better, you don't think that the Patriots would be winning games 38-9? Like, you know he would be doing it. I like that about Bill Belichick. I don't like some things about Bill Belichick, but that's the one thing I loved about him in the Tom Brady era, is they would just go out there and kick everybody around. That 2007 season, low key, don't tell anybody. Hopefully nobody's watching this. I'm sure plenty of people are going to be watching it, though, so they'll call me out. I love that season from the Patriots because they go out there and just put it on people. Just pour it on. Setting records. Randy Moss out there catching touchdowns in the fourth quarter when they're up 3 touchdowns. Like, I love that stuff. Andy Reid, it works for him because that's just his way, and that's probably why his teams are healthier than most teams at the end of the season. They're not worn out. They're not injured. You don't see that a lot with Andy Reid teams. That's probably why, from a fan's perspective, from a consumer standpoint, man, I am lockstep with you in that, man. I want to see my team blow everybody out because it's just a lot more fun that way.
I'm right there with you guys. I get tired of seeing the really close games that give everybody, bad heart conditions because it's not even needed. We're playing like the crappiest teams ever. I want to go ahead and give you the floor here. Why don't you tell us about your podcast? We noticed you had some really good guests on there before. You have Jason Dunn on all the time. Pat Mahomes even got on there. Tell us about your podcast, what you got going on with that and everything like that.
Yeah, man, I started the Spoken podcast. Actually, it's been 12 years almost to the day. I started it just as a Facebook group. I just wanted to speak my mind and have other people have a platform because I know we all listen to shows, watch shows, but it never really feels like you're a part of it. It always feels like you're just kind of taking it in. I wanted to start something like that as just a young kid in my early 20s. It really took off. Now we have thousands of people that are a part of it, literally across the globe. And the beautiful thing about what we do at the Spoken podcast is, although it is primarily Chiefs and NFL talk, man, we talk literally everything. MMA, we talk NBA, we talk MLB, we talk NHL slightly, not a lot, but slightly. And then we talk, like, obviously the World Cup's going on. We have a lot of really good things going on, man. And we do this, like I said, every single Saturday. We started the podcast side of things in February of 2019. And it's been an absolute blast because the first real prediction I ever made on my podcast was the Chiefs were going to win their first Super Bowl in 50 years. And that was the first time in my entire life I actually predicted the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. And it felt really good to land that one. But yeah, man, we've had incredible guests, incredible support. Pat Mahomes is a personal friend of mine. I'm not trying to name drop here, but he's been a good friend of mine for a couple of years now. He's been great to us. He's always been gracious to us. His whole family's been awesome to us. JD, Jason Dunn, and the Chief Concern podcast, those guys are two of my best pals, him and Marcus Dash. Love those guys. And I love the fact that we can do this right here, man, where I get to kind of talk about my show on your guys' show, and you guys want me on here. That's how it's supposed to be, bro. It's supposed to be about the community eating together, man, because everybody can eat out here. It isn't a competition. We're all here to have fun. We love the same team. Why the hell can't we talk about this team and have fun together, dude? So I really appreciate this. I love this. I love what you guys got going on, man. I'm already a fan and a follower of what you guys are doing, man. I really like this. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Again, you said it. One, I want to say that's the most glorious beard I've ever seen. I don't care what anybody says. Two, it is like you're just a part of the show. You could be the third Williams brother. I don't think anybody would notice. But our thoughts are kind of similar on the game, and we think that's actually pretty awesome because Me and Steve started this because we felt like everybody was too PC. Like you were watching Chiefs coverage and it was like, I could be watching NFL Network. That's what I'm getting. Like it's just too cut and dry. I want somebody to show some emotion and will call the Chiefs out and hold them to championship excellence. We do that. We take heat for it, but we noticed you do it. And that's awesome, dude. And we hope you'll come back sometime, dude. This has been fun. And man, we could be talking all night, to be honest. I could anyway.
This is how it's supposed to be, man. We're supposed to have fun. We're supposed to have a good time. PC, that's, there's a place for that. But there's also places for people like us that like to be raw and emotional about it. Because I think at the end of the day, that's not how everybody really feels. Some of us just aren't afraid to express it. Aside from my soul.